Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Deal with D and J. Co-host Jacob Pearl alongside me is DJ, the man, McCatherine. DJ, how are we feeling today?
We are in the midst of the busiest time in sports, Jacob. It is hectic. I got the game on in the background. That is pretty sure a Lowe's. Oh no, it's a Steel commercial. But baseball all day today as the wild cards start on the day of this podcast recording. Lots to talk about. It's exciting. It's exciting times over here. How are you? How are you doing?
Still reeling from my Mizzou trip. Had a lot of fun. A little too much fun. Sleep schedule's all types of whack right now, so we're battling through here, but we're warriors, and that's what you got to do in moments like this. You can't. I think for me, I want to start off with what feels like the biggest news of the day of recording. I don't know if you had time to see this yet, but Nafisa Collier of the Minnesota Lynx came out and gave a 4.5-minute speech bashing WNBA front office. Now, I've seen people be upset with the league office before. Specifically, baseball is the most notably distant from their league office because of the whole salary cap situation going on. But I haven't seen something like this where she's airing out conversations that she's had with the commissioner.
Executives.
With the high-level executives. And the good word is it's pretty damning for the WNBA because I think a big gripe of their season here was that the level of talent has significantly increased in the dub. Significantly.
Yes.
Right? And the officiating and the coaching, and there's a lot of things going on that is awful. Awful. I can give you countless examples of, things I've heard inside the Dallas Wings organization with the head coach that they had. The New York Liberty fired their championship-winning head coach a year off of winning a championship. They get bounced in the first round, fired. Coach out of here, gone. Other coaches have experienced the same fate. And I think that's a problem. The officiating is a problem. But the quote that I find the largest, that if it is true, is a completely tone-deaf take to the state of your league, is saying Caitlin Clark would be nothing without the WNBA.
Yeah.
If we get some factual evidence that this is a true statement that has come out and said, you're the most tone-deaf commissioner in this league, and you shouldn't be in your seat. And you're telling players to be grateful about a television rights deal is impudent. Your salary cap's a joke. I think I saw a thing on Twitter today from a Mr. Woody. I want to say Woody Marks. Don't quote me. I'm pulling it up right now. I believe it is Bobby Marks. And Woody Marks is hopefully, if you're listening to this, you have him on your fantasy team. But Bobby Marks says, that is some statement. Let's do some napkin math on their finances. Attendance for Sunday Game 5 was 16,919 fans. Let's just say the average ticket was $50, which obviously not the case, right? You get courtside, you got premiums, right? Just off the average ticket of $50 alone, it would have equated to $850,000 in ticket revenue for a single game. The WNBA salary cap is $1.5 million. A lot of question marks. And the thing is, it's not like the WNBA can sit back and take this either. Unrivaled and Athletes Unlimited have their own leagues that they're trying to start with real investors. Like I think Brianna Stewart's in one, right? They have real competition to get their players poached. DJ, hearing all this information, what do you take of this?
I've seen clips, and I think that's where I'm gonna be slightly or ask you some questions based on this interview, because it seems like people, like teams and players, have come out and stated their displeasure with what they're getting paid and how these teams are allowed to use their money, right? And the WNBA is not a profitable league. They don't make a profit on this stuff. I think caps in sports that don't make money. I think if your team is able to spend more, I think maybe you should be able to let them use it, right? Because everybody in the MLB, like behind me here, they make a good bit of money. Like having a salary cap for some of these teams makes sense because of the market sizes. But none of these teams, from my understanding, are making money. Is that a factual statement?
I will
Or is it
say for
just the
them,
league in its entirety?
I will say if you are not a high caliber player like a Caitlin Clark, where you can make a million boatload of money off of sponsorship and stuff, most of these WNBA players have to go overseas to continue to make money for their family.
I don't.
Some of them DJ. Caitlin, I think the stat came out way back when Caitlin Clark was first drafted. Her starting contract was $70,000.
I mean, as much as like we look at it, like, or as I should say, other people, because I don't look at it like that. It's not because it's not the same. The team's not making money. The league's not making money, right? If you pay Caitlin Clark 300, let's just say $300,000, right, for her presence, that's still not enough for what she's worth. That is not what she's worth. But you still rely on her and her capability outside the league to keep her happy. So if Caitlin Clark just wants to play basketball, that's why she's so far removed from all the money talk. She's got enough money, right? She's looked at as somebody who's either hurting the league in one way or the reason that the league needs to be, these women need to be paid more. And I think personally, the reality of it is the team in a league that doesn't make money, and if that team makes money, it's not a ton of it. Like you're kind of in a tough position. Like you don't have all this money now. If there's a huge gap between these league officials that are making a ton of money, and some of that money needs to trickle down to the players, that I can get on board for. But as long as you're not filling stadiums and your budget is tight, Caitlin Clark being paid 70 grand a year speaks volumes as to where the league is in a whole. They're not discriminating. They're not discriminating against anybody. I think that's the key factor here because again, Caitlin Clark doesn't need money from the WNBA. She doesn't. And if she doesn't want to play for the WNBA anymore, Ice Cube will pay her $1 million to go play 3-on-3 or 3v3, whatever it is. Big three. So I really don't know what the fuss was, except for maybe her comments about the league. Like the commissioner saying that Caitlin Clark would be nothing. She could have, I don't know, she probably would have filed for another year in college and made more money anyways. But that's tone deaf, and that's an insane statement. But it seems like everybody's not willing to talk with the WNBA players. But maybe it's tough too. I don't know. I don't know if any of that made sense to you, but
No, I think it does. I think for us, me listening and what it is, you can't be a growing league and you have this many disgruntled players taking stands against your league and organization, and like their right for compensation should be more, which I do agree. At least something where they don't like have to play these extra leagues out of necessity, right? If they want to go play in the Unrivaled League for fun, like to make extra cash, so be it. But like, like Candace Parker back in the day had to go play in Russia and in Europe, just to make her ends meet. I think, again, you have to take this with a grain of salt because it's coming from one person's perspective, right? And they're not going to come out and be like, the commissioner's not going to be like, yeah, I said that, right? But I think it's pretty damning if this comes out to be real, comes out to be true. You got to have a long, hard look at leadership in the dub if that is the case, right? But that to me was the big news of today, aka Tuesday as we're recording this, DJ. But DJ, college football, we had an incredible slate of games this past weekend.
big time.
From Florida State getting absolutely, bum rushed in a pack of Virginia kids and Charlottesville, to Oregon hushing the whiteout crowd, to Ohio
Two
State
home
going
winning streaks.
Yep, into Ohio State, going into Washington and silencing a pretty good Washington team. Ole
Mm-hmm.
Miss standing on business, hushing the LSU crowd. Alabama going on the road to Georgia, taking them down. Texas A&M survives a scare against Auburn. Indiana, again, survives a scare against Iowa, out of all teams. Georgia Tech survives a scare against Wake Forest. And then Illinois takes down USC in a really good game up in Champaign. Where do you want to start, DJ? The floor is yours.
I mean, I feel like we should really start with the upset of the weekend, which was Virginia over Florida State. As long as my boss lets me, I'll show you his standpoint because he was at that game, and just the intimidation of the crowd in the back of the end zone, waiting, and as soon as that ball hits the floor, the field is covered in thousands of people. I mean, I'm surprised that the players made it out of there alive. I'm surprised the Virginia players made it out of there alive. Shout out to Virginia, man, because they came to play some ball. I mean, I think people really, me and you had this discussion. I think Florida State is back in this hunt, right? Jacob hated that statement. For those listening, Jacob hated that statement. When Florida State beat Alabama, I'm like, this team is back. They're playing with a different juice than they were last year. I think the football team and its program, I think they had a bad year, and I don't think this loss sets them back as much as the dumb AP poll voters said that they like said that they did. I think this is a very surprising Virginia team, right? I think Florida State really overlooked this opponent because they got Miami this coming week. Florida State has a chance to bounce back here and prove if they belong or not, and it's going to be next week. But teams have beaten, or good teams have lost a team that they should have beaten and still played above their season expectations. So I don't think Florida State's out of this. I think if you do, I think you're wrong. Ergo, Jacob, I think you're wrong. I think Virginia was just overlooked, really. I don't think that Florida State took enough advantage of Chandler Morris out there throwing 3 interceptions in this game. Tommy Castellanos forced to throw the ball a ton in this game, and he made mistakes. And it was kind of a sloppy game on all accords. So, but high scoring overtime game, 2 overtime, yeah, double overtime game, and just an immaculate performance. What a win for this Virginia program. What was it, 30 years after their 95 victory of Florida State in their throwback 95 unis? Incredible. The scene was spectacular. The crowd was spectacular. Go Cavs, baby. That was a great win.
Yeah, no, I think it was a great win for Virginia. I think it's what makes college football amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is having events like that. Speaking of events that are amazing, the Penn State whiteout, one of the more iconic venues, one of the more iconic themes and colors in all of sports is that whiteout game up in Happy Valley, up in State College. And it is the same old story with the Penn State Nittany Lions. It is the same old story. Can't win the big one, can't step up to the moment. The defense looked okay at times, but, for most of that game, they were not up to what they should have been. And I think the biggest question that I am currently wrestling with, I think now that I've seen this, and Todd McShay, I watched a little bit of Todd McShay. He brought this up too. Shout out Tom McShay if you're listening. Thank you. Don't know why you would be, but appreciate it.
Me too.
Is that I think I'm starting to come down and not understand that Drew Aller is a first round quarterback hype.
He's not. He's
And I
not.
think this game was, where the needle, broke the camel's back, the straw broke the camel's back, because he doesn't do anything great. He's not incredibly accurate with the ball. He's not mobile. He's a decent pocket passer. He's good at handing the ball off, right? When you have Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, right? But
Mm-hmm.
where do you like you watched that game, DJ, and did you ever feel like Penn State was going to put it together on offense to take the lead? No, and guess what? Before you answer that, and guess what? They lose on another Drew Aller interception.
It's like repeat of the Big Ten championship game,
And
man.
Dante Moore, we'll talk about him here, and I'll let you get a word here in, looked incredible. To go in there and handle the noise the way they did, and he was never like shaken by it or anything like that. And yet Oregon finds a way to win in an incredible format that pushes them right back up to national championship conversations. But what do we like? What was your two biggest takeaways?
I mean, one, I think if I didn't think Dan Lanning was psychotic before, him coming back on and saying in front of a crowd of 111,000 people, 111,000 people, Jacob, that the crowd didn't play a factor in this game, that it was underwhelming. What team, Jacob, would you be more scared to face than this Oregon Ducks team? They have walked into Ohio State in front of 105,000. They have walked into Michigan in 110 plus thousand, and now they've walked into the whiteout game in Penn State in front of 111,000 people and taken down all three of them. All three of them. What I don't know a team that has a better game plan or anything than Oregon does when they play a big team on the road. I mean, they are just fantastic. And minus maybe the Bo Nix. Was that Bo Nix's Oregon team that Georgia stomped? Maybe with
Mm-hmm.
the exception of them. But nonetheless, that is just a Dan Lanning is a madman. And really through this game, I had a ton of questions about the play calling. I texted you after um, Oregon went up. I believe it was 17-3. And I'm like, okay, Penn State's really got to put it together. And they went 75 yards in 3 plays, and Drew Allen had a nice play action pass, and he had a very nice throw. I don't remember who the receiver was that caught it, but very nice throw into the end zone. I believe it was Ross. And I'm like, where was this play calling before? Right? Like, why aren't you stretching the defense of Oregon out before? Because the stats in this game aren't great. They only had 139 yards rushing on the ground. And I know that sounds better, but Drew Allard rushed for 42, right? Katron Allen only 54. Nicholas Singleton, 11 carries for 21 yards. The run offense wasn't there. It wasn't. And Katron Allen only got his good chunk in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Drew Allard, 14 of 25 for 137 yards is miserable. Miserable. And, kudos to Oregon's defense for coming in here and shutting down Penn State for 3 quarters of the game and then really stepping up in overtime. But sometimes I don't get it. I don't know what James Franklin needs to do. I think I'm out on James Franklin. I think he needs a new program. I don't know how you get rid of him, right? I think you take a step back. I mean, we could go through this carousel of coaches, right? You could go Dabo Sweeney maybe goes to Penn State. Maybe James Franklin comes to Florida, right? And then you do a switcheroo somewhere else, as coaches will be on the block at the end of this year, in my opinion. But I don't know who steps into Penn State and elevates that program past what they are, because I mean, shout out to James Franklin for his, I mean, I don't know if you'd want to call it transparency, but like he's like, it's not, a narrative. It's the truth. Like he's like, I don't win in these big games, and at some point you need your players to make the key plays. And I don't know who does James Franklin call the plays.
No,
Is
I don't
James
think
Franklin a
so.
play caller? Then they need to find the best play caller, and they need to give him a ton of money. Jim Knowles was a great hire. That Penn State defense held for, pretty good in this game. I know you see 30 points on the board, but Jim Knowles was a great hire. Defense stood for a long time, and then overtime comes in. There's like you have no choice but to give up points for the most part. But I don't know. I don't know what else needs to happen with this team because those were your championship winners, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, I'm gonna stay with it, right? I can't just abandon.
you can. You actually can. I'll even give you the pass. You have a pass to bail on them right now because you can't tell me you're looking at this Penn State team in the whiteout game in the environment that they're going to have the biggest advantage for, and look at that game and tell me that that's a championship level team with Drew Allard at the helm too.
I mean, I can't.
Are you
What
going
type?
to?
What type of person does that make me, DJ?
It means you're a realist. That means
Somebody
you
who goes
have.
back, someone who goes back on their word.
Tell me right now that you believe in this Penn State team.
I mean,
In James Franklin.
I don't, but I can't. You have to ride it. You have to ride who you pick, and we'll switch when we make our official picks if they even make it. Like, I think it's time. He was two. He's now 2-21 in top 6 opponents. And there's enough sample size now. There's plenty of it. James Franklin cannot get you over the hump. And I'm gonna be honest with you. How do you think Penn State fans feel looking at Bo Perbula down in Mizzou, being like, we'd rather have this guy right now, and we let him walk for Drew Aller?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's kind of like a Jake Fromm, Justin Fields scenario almost at this point, right? Or Stetson Bennett. Was it Jake Fromm and Justin Fields? Yeah. Um, I think if you're Penn State, you probably have to. I think you have to do the unthinkable. And tell me if I'm crazy. I'm just thinking literally on my feet. You fire James Franklin and you spent all the money in the world to get Kurt Signetti.
Ooh.
With
I don't think that's a bad. I don't think it's bad.
with what
We
he's
were.
been able to, he took Indiana from a nothing team to beating the crap out of a decent Illinois team to putting them back on the map. He can recruit because he got Fernando Mendoza, stud out of Cal, right?
Mhm.
And tell me I'm crazy. If I'm an AD, if I'm the AD of Penn State, I look at James Franklin and be like, I've given you too many chances. You're gone. Go get Kurt Signetti, who has proven to change programs around and, do whatever is needed, and bam. Not saying you may get better, options. You may not get better results, but you got to change something, man. And
Mhm.
it can't be Frank. You can't. I think if you're a Penn State fan, you can't trot Franklin out after year after year after year of going 10-2 or 11-1 because you can't beat Ohio State, and now you can't beat Oregon, right? And like, where do you go? You have to go get the big fish. Heck, trade for freaking not trade. Go freaking get Dabo out of Clemson if you really want to.
I
Like,
think I was talking to you remember Ryan James? I was talking to my buddy Ryan James the other day, and I'm like, what puts you over the hump as a college football program is a head coach who's absolutely psychotic, right? You need a psychotic head coach, and I just don't think James Franklin is a psychotic head coach. You need a Dan Lanning. You need a Kirby Smart. Curt Cignetti is a psychotic. He is a psychotic human being. You need Ryan Day. I think Ryan Day is psychotic about the game. And I think he's lower tier psychotic of the psychotic people. Dabo Sweeney is one of those people. Nick Saban was. I think Jim Harbaugh was a psychotic human being as a head football coach. James Franklin is not that. Billy Napier is not that. Brian Kelly, I think you could almost throw into the psychotic head coach realm, but that's what changes your program. You need program changers. I think James Franklin is great, and I think given a really good roster on any given year, I think the talent level is probably smaller than what we gave credit for. I'm gonna kind of mold that as my reason for this team not succeeding because I think there are other things like play calling that play a factor. But we had really high hopes on Drew Allard this year. Really high hopes. We're like, he's going to be a 4-year starter. Like, this has to be his time, or 3-year starter, whatever it is. He has to, right? Like, there's no other option but for him to be good. You can't regress. And he is just the same player year after year after year, making the same old mistakes. And it's just one of those things. And I just think it's time. And it's so
I
sad. So
do
you gotta like James Franklin, but
I do think it's time, and I think for people they're going to be like, well, I take a coach any day of the week who goes 10-2, 9-3, maybe 11-1. Listen, buddy, you're not Penn State. You're not in the mix every year. Like for me, as a Mizzou fan, if
yeah,
we
10
don't
and 2 every year, yes.
if we go 10-2 every year, I'm like, this is amazing. I have an experience.
And the year you did, you beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl.
We should
Jacob's
have.
singing
We
praises.
we were a great team that year.
You
We're
were?
a great team this year.
Mm-hmm.
And you take a look at it from that perspective. Like a Vanderbilt would kill to go 10-2. South Carolina would kill to go 10-2. Florida
Mm-hmm.
would love to go 10-2 with Billy Napier. Not like that's possible this year, but like they would love it, because that means you beat someone big. But for Penn
Yeah.
State, 10-2 means mediocrity at this point, and so you kind of like. I think you got to.
When your two losses come to the thing that's keeping you from your success,
Yep.
or you're just your next milestone. Like a Big Ten champion, like if James Franklin came home with a Big Ten championship, his whole life would be saved. I don't care that he made the playoffs last year. I really don't. And I think that's going to be the saving grace for these fan bases' torture, right? Is that going to the playoffs is going to be considered a win. And it is for some programs. Don't get me wrong. A program like Indiana making it's a big win because they have won nothing. But a historic program like Penn State going to the playoffs and just losing in the first round, that's not enough. You need to win the Big Ten championship game. Like that should be your accomplishment to this point. If you can't beat the best in your conference or you can't win a championship game, you need to come home with a Big Ten champion, a conference championship game. And after how long has it been? How long have we had Franklin under the helm? 10, 11, 12 years? Nothing? One? I think he's got one. It's just not enough.
It's not, and looking at the rest of the slate, you got Ohio State and Indiana, where I think, again, you may go 10-2 here and beat an Indiana team who, we'll see if they're legit. I don't know who.
Hot. They got Oregon next. Indiana's got Oregon next.
Yeah, they got a big show up game if they want it.
Both coming off of bye weeks too. That's where game day is going to be. Game day is going to be in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, it will. I mean, I think if you're Penn State, you have to make the unpopular. Actually, it's very popular decision amongst fans probably right now, which is fire James Franklin, restart fresh. Go in the you gotta go. You got the money, go spend it on the big fish. Go get Kurt Signetti, or go get. Gosh, I don't even know who. Kurt Signetti to me feels like the perfect fit for Penn State. Personally, feels perfect.
You need a psycho. A psychopath.
Like, I don't know who else would be perfect for a job like that to keep it rolling at the highest level that it is.
I mean, the only name I could think of would be Dabo. Maybe Dan Mullen. Maybe you take Dan Mullen away from UNLV if he has a good season. I like Dan Mullen. I really do.
Maybe you go crazy and you hit a full reset. You go get the head coach out of Mississippi State if they continue to stay hot. Like, does that get you a bigger job? Like, you can't get Lane because Lane didn't take the Bama job. Like, you can't get DeBoer. You can't take most of these SEC coaches, right? You can't take most of the Big 12 coaches outside of, like, we all kind of expect Signetti to go to the next big fish. And who's bigger than Indiana in terms of an overall brand? It's Penn State.
Florida, I can tell you Florida's going to throw the book at him.
Yeah, Florida will
throw the book. But if he wants to stay in that northeast corridor, Midwest northeast corridor.
Yeah, I think, or do you go I think that's probably where you got to go in terms of the James Franklin debacle here. I mean, let's talk a little bit more about the rest of the weekend here before we'll jump into some NFL stuff. Takeaways from Ole Miss LSU to me is that they found their new quarterback at Ole Miss, which is Trinidad Chambliss. He runs the offense a million times better than Austin Simmons ever did, and he's your new quarterback. Congrats. It's rare to find a D2 JUCO guy and a guy who beats out the NIL Nepo baby, right? So, like, you have Trinidad Chambliss. The offense looks good. The defense was elite against LSU. But the LSU offensive line, still bad. The Garrett Nussmeier debacle, I'm starting to come around on Nussmeier much like I am on Aller. I still think Nussmeier is much better than a Drew Aller just because of the way the NFL's kind of set up. Like, you can game manage and get Nussmeier just like very Kirk Cousins like is a good way to describe Garrett Nussmeier's game.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it. But the wide receiver core is okay. The offense can't run the ball, regardless of how Brian Kelly felt about it against Florida. And while the secondary was good for LSU, they don't have a pass rush. And Whit Weeks, unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, kid, that will, if you somehow, I never wish ill on a relationship ending, but if you somehow marry Miss Landry Kiffin, you know Lane's going to hold that over your head for the rest of your life that he took you down. So have fun with that. How do we feel about Ole Miss and how do we feel about LSU?
I think their jump in the AP poll this week is absolutely criminal. I think that this LSU hype was too high, and I think the Ole Miss hype now is too high. I think basically a swap in position because they decimated LSU for a loss on the road in Mississippi. And I think that was kind of a criminal against them. And I don't think that this Ole Miss team is the number 4 team in the country. I think that is a gross over exaggeration for a win on the home. And like Trinidad Chambliss did good. I don't think he did great. I mean, 23 of 39 is that like 60 something percent, 61, 62% touchdown and interception. His ability to run the ball was fantastic. 14 carries, 71 yards. His longest run was only 11, so it was good short gain situations, or decent yards pickups. But this Ole Miss team is not the number 4 team in the country. I give my hat off to Lane Kiffin. I thought his headspace was not in the right area. I think the stuff coming out about his daughter and dating the LSU linebacker and him complaining about the time of day that they were playing this game was just a mental blurb that coaches don't care about for the most part. Uh, and that Ole Miss fan base showed up, and that Ole Miss team showed up. But I didn't. I've seen nothing from that team that gives me the indication that they're the number 4 team in the country, personally. But as far as a win is concerned, big win. Big for that program, big for Lane Kiffin. You know, if he's going to be hitting the road here, you know, this was a must win for him. Um, but that's kind of what I got to say about that. Am I allowed to toss a game in here, Jacob?
Yeah, you have every opportunity to.
Well, thank you, good sir, my gracious host of today's podcast. You know, I want to touch on this Ohio State Washington game. Do we find this is one of the more impressive wins by a team in this, you know, almost midway of the college football season? Because Washington had, I believe it was a 22 game home winning streak, a crowd that was rowdy coming in, and possibly a team that was a little underrated going into this game. That Ohio State defense, man, is something different. So different, especially for a team that scored, I believe, 100% of the time in the red zone in Washington, being held to 6 points, 2 field goals in this game. I think that's got to be saying something, right?
Yeah, I was on, the Green Dog podcast for my weekly appearance at this rate, and I told the boys Ohio State's the best team in the country. And they're like, but Miami has the ranked wins, and Miami this, and Miami that. I don't care. When you watch them play, they don't do anything sexy. It's like a Toyota. It's not sexy, but you know what it is? Reliable, long-lasting, and just gets the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And what does Ohio State do? Gets
It's
the
like they.
job done. They're reliable, and you know what you're going to get from them. They don't need to blow out these teams. Washington was a very good team. Very good team. I think people discredit Washington a little bit, but they were a very good team for Ohio State this game. And they went in there, and going on the road in Seattle, that's a good crowd. And they went in there and
Mm-hmm.
handled business. The defense, man, is legit. It's one of the best defenses in college football. And if you're not seeing that with your eyes, thinking they're the best team in the country, I don't know what to do with you, right? Miami's okay. Miami's pretty good, right? But we're starting to see some things come out. You beat a Notre Dame team, Notre Dame, we'll still see about them, right? You beat a
Mm-hmm.
bad Florida team, right? You beat an okay USF team at the time they were ranked, right? You got to give credit where credit is due.
They were hot. Yeah.
But like now you got to survive the ACC slate. And now you're going to play a Florida State team who I don't think is legit, coming off a loss on the road, and now you got to go to your first road test, really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sold on Miami. I think Ohio State's incredible. I think Julian Sayin is going to just continue to get better and better and better. They have every piece there that you need to repeat as of right this second as we're recording. And through 5 weeks, that's the only thing that I can really kind of give you right now. Is that besides the AP poll being absolutely tragic, I think that's the one thing the AP poll has gotten right, is the fact that Ohio State's the number one team in the country. I think that's impressive. I think the way they've looked has been impressive. I think that's what I can walk away from with this Ohio State team.
Yeah, I think if this is the unsexy, football program right now that's still trying to get their quarterback warmed up, I think when it comes to November when they've got to play Penn State, and they've got to play Michigan, I mean, Michigan's a must-win this year for Ryan Day. Not that his job's at risk, but for that stadium to be not set on fire, I think that this will be a very tough team come playoff time. Should everything still be together for them.
Well, DJ, let's jump to the NFL here. We had
Do
some
you want to
tragic.
talk about Georgia Alabama at all? Just because we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we could, let's talk about that game. The Alabama. Ty Simpson looked really impressive. They looked really impressive. I thought the defense looked much better. Going to Georgia and all that is very tough. And the thing is, they contained Gunnar Stockton, 20 yards passing, only 130 yards in the air. I would be a little concerned in the fact that you gave up 227 yards on the ground, which is a little concerning. And, you got a bunch of people running the ball on you. But you contained Gunnar Stockton in a pretty weak, what's looking like a pretty weak Georgia wide receiver core. The run game for Alabama kind of still isn't fully there, but they had over 100 yards on the ground. Ty Simpson was slinging it. 2 touchdowns, 276, and, Jeremy Bernard has looked really good. Isaiah Horton has looked just as good. And Williams still hasn't had that clear breakout game yet.
What a drop that he had at the beginning of that game.
At the beginning of that game, right? Wide open.
Gosh.
Ty Simpson, man, looked really impressive. And I think we all writ them off because of Florida State was a shocking loss. But I think it's a loss that they had to have to kind of reset their system. This is an uncharacteristic Kirby loss to have your offense look this bad.
I don't know if I'd even say that. I mean, I think
To
they've
me,
won some slugfests.
it's a little uncharacteristic.
I mean, they've won some slugfests. You remember Kentucky? I think it was Kentucky last year. The offense was abysmal, and they edge out. But I mean, it's an uncharacteristic loss. I mean, Kirby Smart's 1-7 now
against Alabama.
Against Alabama, like this is an on par loss. Maybe with a team, I feel like these wins are normally or these losses are high scoring.
I mean, if you're a Bama fan, you don't love the second half. You don't score any points in the second half.
A defense stepped up though.
Defense stepped up, though, and that's ultimately all that matters. I think it just puts Alabama in a much better spot. I think it makes the SEC a million times more interesting now, right? Because you're probably going to have them both end up competing for that spot in the SEC title game. Because right now you got Ole Miss has played 3 conference games already. Jeez. Like Ole Miss, you got Ole Miss at 3-0. You got Mizzou. You got Vanderbilt, Oklahoma. Like you have Bama, A&M, which I think A&M is going to come back down to earth. They're going to come back down to earth. Texas, we still got to see what they're made of. They haven't played a single conference game yet, right? Tennessee, we know what they're made of. LSU, we kind of know what they are. We know what's happening here. And now we get an incredible rematch between Alabama and Vanderbilt this upcoming weekend. Diego Pavia, can he pull up on the road and go crazy like he did last year? Or can Bama kind of like put back down the heel and be like we're back? Really interested to see. I think it's super exciting, right? And Alabama's next stretch of games is not easy either. You get Georgia, you get Vanderbilt at home, and then you got to go to Mizzou, and then you get Tennessee in the third Saturday in October. So like these stretch of games for Alabama, if they come out on the plus side of it, that looks great. For some other teams, I'm mainly looking at Mizzou, right? If Mizzou beats Alabama in that noon kick, the whole world is open for the Mizzou Tigers, and I get excited about that. But I'm not holding my breath too crazy. But for Georgia, though, I think you feel uncomfortable if you're a Georgia fan, though.
Yeah.
Just because you went from such dominance to now you're falling back down to the pack. And I think that's what makes college football exciting is when we went from such dominance at the top to now there's so much parity. And parity is good.
Do you my one question with this, Jacob, is do you think that this puts a hold on what some would probably say as a ticking clock for Kalen DeBoer at Alabama? Maybe that he wasn't going to be at the hot seat at the end of this season, but like he'd be in a pot of water and on the stove. Um, or do you think that this win doesn't change and it really, I mean, it does depend on the games following here and where they finish up, but like do you think this win against Georgia puts some dirt under his feet?
I don't think for DeBoer, I think this really keeps him settled. I think you don't pay $70 million now. I think you back off on it. Still a lot of season to be played. I guarantee you, if they somehow find a way to lose to Vanderbilt again, we'll hear about the fire DeBoer talks. If they somehow lose to Mizzou, fire DeBoer, right? To them, they should never lose to these teams. So we shall see. But I think as of right now, I think DeBoer can rest quite easy for himself.
Fair enough.
NFL talk here. Now, Malik Neighbors, torn ACL on that MetLife field. Please get grass. I'm tired of artificial turf and the conversations that come with it. Statistically, it shows you, please just do the right thing. The Vikings, they went all in on getting an offensive line, and unfortunately, they don't have one. What's new? I do not want to talk about my Vikings because I'm over it. I'm sick of it. It's the same.
I mean, Carson Wentz did so good though.
No, it's the same crap every year. It's the same shit. It's the same thing that Kirk Cousins struggled with. It's the same thing that J.J. McCarthy is going to struggle with. And it's a terrible offensive line every single year. We have all the right pieces every single year. And here we are. Spent the money in the offseason. O-line's dog shit, right? Jordan Mason's good. Jordan Addison's great. TJ Hawkinson's great. Justin freaking Jefferson, right? And then we get smoked on the defensive side of the ball, right? So, absolute joke. I'm over it. I don't care that Carson Wentz went 30 of 46 through for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns. We lost. I don't care. That's my soapbox. I think now that I'm simmering down here, I think we learned a lot about a lot of teams this weekend. A lot.
Can I ask? I'm just throwing the question out there. You let me throw one out there earlier. I'm going to do it again. What are we thinking of the Commanders and Falcons? Because you want to talk about a team that like flipped the switch in 2 different weeks. I mean, you had the Commanders lay wood on the Raiders the week before, right? And it's the Raiders. Everyone's laying wood on them. Fine. But you think they get their stride. The Falcons lose by 30 to the Panthers. And then they turn around and they put 34 points up against the Commanders. I mean, those are two very confusing teams. They're so confusing. Michael Penix threw real well. Bijan Robinson ran well. Drake London had a stud of a game, a studly game. And, Washington's doing it with Mariota right now. But even he wasn't the most miserable out there. But there's just two teams that have me so confused. Is this Commanders team lacking that aggressively because of Jaden Daniels being out? Do you think that's what's holding them back from these victories? Because that defense, also gave up a ton of yards.
I think if I'm looking at both those teams, I don't know what to think of them.
I mean, is your hand off the button for the Falcons like it was last week?
No, I think it's still on there. I think it's just like, guess what? We're going to, you know what we're going to do? We're going to be like, oh my God, are the Falcons good? And then they play the Bills, and they're going to get stomped. And then guess what? They're going to play the Niners and be competitive and maybe win that game. They'll probably smoke the Dolphins, and then guess what? They'll lose to the Patriots in New England, right? I don't know what to think of the Falcons. I think it shows that if you get a surprising concept is if you get your playmakers the ball, you win games. Crazy concept. Raheem Morris needs to figure out how to coach. I'm sick of him. The Commanders just don't have Jaden Daniels. I don't think this. I think they're really struggling without Daniels. Not like Mariota can't do it, but Jaden Daniels is also much better than Marcus Mariota. And so for both those teams, I'm not hitting the panic button. I think for the Falcons, I was still am hitting the panic button because I don't, it's so just false sense of security every single week. But we'll continue to see. I mean, Rams and Colts, the Rams look really good. Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford
they have it going. They got it going on.
Absolute cheat code. 375, 3 touchdowns for Stafford. Puka Nacua, 13 receptions on 170 yards and a touchdown. He had a total of 15 targets in that game. He had nearly half the targets for them in that round. Bucks and Eagles, I think both teams are still very legit. The Eagles just find ways to win, so I'm impressed by them. The Chiefs put BTA on the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Quite surprising there, honestly. I thought that would be a much better game, but I'm not.
That Ravens defense has been absolutely atrocious, and with the play caller or the playmakers that they have on that defensive side, what excuse do you have?
The fact that they don't have any excuse. They need to be better. I'm speed running here. Giants get a win over the Chargers. Jackson Dart season over in New Jersey. The Patriots, a sneaky 2-2 team. Drake Mays looked really good to start the year. The Lions beat the Browns. Nothing new there. Bears survived the Raiders. Caleb Williams looking competent. Unlocked Rome Odunze. Going down the list here, the Titans. As Cam Ward would say, we ass. Continuing on. The Jaguars, the most surprising 3-1 team in football. Trevor Lawrence has looked pretty darn good. 21-31, 174, 1 touchdown. Travis Etienne, 19 carries, 124, and a tutty. Brian Thomas Jr. and Brenton Strange led the team in receptions and yards. And we haven't heard much about Travis Hunter. I think it will continue to stay that way. But Shane Waldron is the passing game coordinator for the Jags, and that probably explains why Brian Thomas Jr. sucks this year.
I've heard this theory.
It's not a theory. It's a fact. And the Jacksonville defense is actually really good. Really good this year. And if they come out on Monday Night Football and get a win over the Chiefs, we got a lot to talk about over in that division now.
I mean, we've got a lot to talk about in general with that division. I mean, we saw a little bit of regress in Daniel Jones. against the Rams this week and the Jags, giving San Francisco their first loss and it being on the road. I mean, when you don't need your quarterback, which I'm gonna come out and say I think Trevor Lawrence is the Achilles heel to the Jacksonville offense personally. But when you can rely on your run game, when your running back can get you 6.5 yards a game and then open up every other part of the playbook for there to be receivers downfield, there becomes a very easy, when you have a capable quarterback, becomes a very easy way to success. And I think that's what happened in this game. They were able to get the run game going. The secondary for the Jags forced a couple of turnovers, um, and a couple of fumbles as well. And that's really all she wrote. The defense was fantastic for the Jags, and the offense was efficient enough. And again, Travis Etienne with a good hold on everything in this game. So the Jags team, I think, is an easy team to say that they're at the top of their division. Personally, that maybe even the best in their division to this point.
Yeah, I think. Listen, you guys laughed at me about my Jags take, and joke's on you.
There's still a lot of season left.
Still a lot of season left, but as of right now, joke's on you.
The joke is on me.
Packers Cowboys. What a shame that game ended in a tie. That was an absolute classic of a game.
Mm-hmm.
Monday Night Football. Tyreek Rip, his knee is disintegrated into oblivion, and the Bengals, what is new, is still really bad at football without Joe Burrow. So, yeah, and the Broncos are kind of waking up now. Bo Nix had 29 yards, 326, and 2 touchdowns. So, looking at week 5 here, still a lot of decent games, a lot of good games. I think after this week, we'll have a really good sense of where teams are, how teams look, where to go from there. But, man, it's injury season right now. Sunday Night Football, DJ, will be Patriots-Bills, which I'm actually kind of excited for. I'm excited to see Drake May in the bright spotlights. So,
I think that could be a very high-scoring game.
I will tell you right now, DJ, we got hockey coming up here. So, this is my favorite time of the year. You know how that goes.
We do.
So we'll have some more topics coming out on that down the line. College hockey's coming up, and we're in baseball season and all that. For the people listening, your team, you're picking the Guardians to win the World Series. Are you riding your team all the way?
I am not. Watching today's game, Skubal is just an absolute monster, by the way. I know we knew this, and I've seen baseball for me is hard to keep up with in general with the availability to watch it is my biggest concern when it's not on these major networks. But it was just an absolute privilege to watch him throw the ball today because that is a madman on the mound. I think it was 14 Ks. My Guardians, they are just one of the worst teams in baseball batting average wise. I gave you the stat before we started this podcast. They are the second worst team in batting average in baseball. The second worst in baseball, period. I believe it was what did I tell you? 2.7 was their ERA, or I'm sorry, their batting average as a team. Hold on, give me 10 seconds. Let me just flip this average. 226 batting average. The next best playoff team is the Mariners at 20th at 244. You're talking about 18 hundredths of a point, 18 thousandths of a point difference in batting average. I don't think Cleveland has they don't have the bat to get through this postseason, unfortunately. Their pitching is one of the best in baseball, has been all season long. They're sitting at a 3.7 ERA through the regular season, the fourth best in baseball, but the bats just don't support it. That's what brought them down. That's why they were 15 and a half games back. And the announcers during the game today, they just found people that made plays at certain times. But, Ramirez was on third base with no outs and you couldn't get him in. And then Ramirez made a base running error on a ground ball back to the mound. He stopped mid play. Don't go home on the ball back to the mound, or if you're gonna go because it was a chopper, right? Don't stop. Run through that catcher. You're in playoff baseball. You're in a best of 3 series. You need to make your decisions. You need to be sharp.
Running through a catcher gets you thrown out, DJ, just in
Not
case
if
you
they have
forgot
the
that.
ball. If they're in front of the plate, you can run through them. So,
Well, the Cardinals opened up a new era here, which is the Kyle Bloom era. And for those Red Sox fans who remember, Kyle Bloom is the guy who traded away Mookie Betts and everybody associated with that roster back in the day. I think Chris Sale, Lester, you name it, everything that got associated. And he's now the president of baseball operations for the St. Louis Cardinals. John Mozeliak's out. He just got awarded second base. And boy, Aroldis Chapman better not blow it. Anyways, like, as a Cardinals fan, listening to that press conference today was them being like, we understand it. I think the biggest takeaway I took was that they were like, we understand the fans. And they were like, hey, we see why attendance is down. And if it's to send the message, we're hearing the message loud and clear. We are not happy with the state of the baseball team. We are not happy with the state of the team. I am quite frustrated with where you know where the team has to go and you refuse to do it. DJ, my favorite stat that I found was that if the Cardinals didn't put out Michaelis, Andre Palante, and Eric Fetty, the Cardinals would have had like the third best record in baseball, minus their starts. That's how bad the Cardinals' pitching was over the course of the year.
I think that's a bad stat, but
When the stat turns into 60 and 37,
you're
that
still
was the
talking about
difference.
the pitcher that you replaced him with. Got to get the win too. I think that's a
Okay, Miles Michaelis got trolled by the Cubs. When he played them on July 4th, he gave up 0.4 miles of home run. He gave up nearly half a mile's worth of home runs in that game. The Red Sox come out with a very big out there. Or they win. They
Nope.
win the
They're
game.
going into the ninth.
No, did they tie it? No, that's
No,
it.
nope. They're going into the ninth.
Well, that was
Runner
the
in
bottom of
scoring.
the eighth?
Yeah, runner in scoring
Oh,
position.
wow.
Man on second base.
Wow. I think for the Cardinals, I think there's a lot of things you need to do this offseason. One of them, Nolan Arenado, your time's up. Waive your no trade clause. Don't be a hero about it. Do what's best for the program. Leave. Ivan Herrera is going to go back to catching, which I'm okay with, but he was also a pretty damn good DH for us. Not in love with the Wilson Contreras at first base experiment anymore. I think I would rather him just go back to being a DH. I'd rather put Alec Burleson at first. I think you move. I think the guaranteed players on the Cardinals that are gone. Nolan Gorman's gone. Brendan Donovan's going to be gone, who's like literally our best player, but you have to open up room for JJ Weatherholt to come up. You're going to trade Arenado. I think Sonny Gray is done in St. Louis. I think he's done. He came to St. Louis to win, and he's legitimately the only good pitcher the Cardinals had. It is an absolute sell of a team that you're going to have to do. You have no pitching. You got some pitching guys in the system that can maybe pan out, like a guy like Quinn Matthews or not MacGyver, McGreevy.
McGruber.
But there's a lot of dark days for Cardinals fans. Like, we have missed a playoff 3 years in a row, and I couldn't tell you the last time we missed the playoffs in consecutive years, let alone 3. So, it's either sell the farm or get incredibly aggressive in free agency and trying to alleviate your issues now. Which, I don't know how you do it. You have Sonny Gray. You're probably going to have to give up Sonny Gray. You're going to have to go rebuild the roster from the ground up. So, I'm not thrilled with the state of the Cardinals. I'm not thrilled with the guy who's running it. I wasn't thrilled with Mo. I'm not thrilled with Bloom. I'm not thrilled that Ollie freaking Marmol's coming back as my manager again. He's so stupid. The whole thing is so stupid. But hey, what do I know? We got, preseason I said the Cardinals would finish in 5th, and they finished 4th. So
I know it's baby.
I guess that's something I can take positives out of. But that's my spiel. Well,
There you go.
he has been DJ the Man McCatherine. I have been your co-host Jacob Prell. We have been to Deal with D and J. Like, comment, share, subscribe on all platforms.